When we hear the word power, it's charged. Maybe more today than ever before. When I hear the word power, I think of domination, zero sum, win, lose. And a lot of us feel like we're on the losing end of that. We think about it in the newsroom, we see it in the boardroom, it may be playing out in our living rooms. When we think of power, we might think of them. They have power. Those with titles, those with money, those with a platform, those with influence. Well, power is not only structural, it's also relational. When I was clicking through the list, you might have been thinking of a boss that made your life miserable, a partner that you really needed to learn to outgrow. You might have been thinking of a parent. Power is not only structural, it's relational. And the truth is, power is moving through us every day. So the question is not, do we have power? The question is, how are we holding it? When I think of power, I think of like white knuckling. And it makes sense to grasp for something that feels scarce, doesn't it? But what if we didn't have to grasp for power because we already felt so grounded? When I think of power, sometimes I think of the grind. I certainly have seen this in my career, the 60-hour work week, and then I can just hear someone going, 60? Come on, 80, right? You're performing, you're politicking, you're pleasing. But what if you didn't have to bring that energy because you already had such a sense of belonging? Especially to yourself first. Maybe when we think of power, we think of dominating and then disappearing. It's like the fight, flight, or freeze response. But maybe we don't need those sort of reactive responses because we can stand in our presence. If you think about electricity, power is kind of similar. They're neutral. But when power, like electricity, is connected to ground, electricity can light an entire city. And when electricity is disconnected from ground, what does it do? Well, it shorts, it surges, it knocks my TV out, and I can't figure out how to get it back on. It surges. And power is very similar. When we lose access to our grounded presence, our power becomes unstable. And we adapt. We develop self-protective strategies, and when you think about it, when you feel afraid, what do you look for? Control. And how do we develop control when we're afraid? Well, there is one key strategy that's really familiar, and I'm going to name it, and it looks something like asymmetry. Asymmetry is the playbook of fragile power. Asymmetry looks like win, lose, more, less. So asymmetry means if I have more money than you, more position than you, more influence than you, more engagement than you, maybe I have more sex appeal than you, if I have more than you, then I'm safe, then I'm secure. And why is this fragile? Because anything that is innately defined by something outside of itself, that is fundamentally contingent and referential, is unstable. It's fragile. And when we're defined in reference to another, and that other starts to amass more compared to us, we have to escalate. It's a fragile cycle, and it's a vicious one. And so it looks like when we talk about asymmetry and fragile power, we can amass control through two kind of key strategies. One is dominating, and that might be the one that comes to mind the most when we think of fragile power. But the other is disappearing, and it can look a little bit like this. Say someone criticizes me. We've all been criticized, right? Like, we've all experienced it. When I've been criticized, I can come back at you and make you regret the day. I can rip you to shreds. Or I'll never let you hurt me again. Control can be found in our domination or in our disappearance. and our leaning in and our withdrawal. And you can see how fragile this is. It's unstable. In fragile power, it works. It can build systems, it can build structures, but it can't bring humanity forward. Fragile power is not weakness, it's instability. But maybe you felt something else too. You felt that moment when you told the truth even though your voice was shaking. When you decided that you didn't need to play the game and be the smartest person in the room this time because you were just so secure in yourself. Formidable power begins the moment our worth is no longer on trial. Let that sink in. Formidable power begins when our worth is no longer on trial. Formidable power looks like self-assurance and secure. I'm self-assured and secure. I might not have all the answers, but I know that I have room for curiosity. I have room to learn. Formidable power takes courage. When someone comes at you with a criticism, it's easy to fight back. The energy of fear is contagious, and the energy of formidable power is also contagious, but it takes courage. And as one of my great heroes says, if one has courage, nothing can dim the light which shines within. Formidable power is that source that shines from within, where fragile power looks to dominate or disappear. Formidable power looks to dignify. And when our need to grasp for this asymmetry control, when that dissolves, what comes available to us is the source of formidable power. And these are two key life forces that are available to us all the time at any given moment, and they have a never-ending well, and that is truth and love. Truth here, while truth is a really interesting word in today's day, I'll define it in a bit of like a St. Augustinian way, which is much more about an inner knowing. Truth is like your deep inner knowing, where your thoughts and your feelings and your beliefs are aligned with your words and your actions. And we all know what it feels like when we've betrayed our deep inner knowing to keep the peace and to keep harmony. And we all know what it feels like to stand up straight when you've honored it. Not out of ego, but out of alignment. Love. Now, love is the one that I think is the most confused, because people think, especially business leaders think, I can't bring love into the boardroom. But love here is not soft and it's not sentimental. This is structural love. This kind of love is a structure, and it can contain compassion for what is and hope for what could be. Compassion for exactly who we are as we are in this moment, and hope for our own evolution, mine and yours too. So, why do we need both of these to travel together? Because when you have truth, but it's not anchored in love, it can be pretty brutal. It can be like a weapon, and you get that asymmetry. And when you have love and it's not anchored in truth, it can feel a little bit like manipulation. Again, the asymmetry. But when the two come together, your formidable power remembers that you belong, it offers you presence, and it gives you your grounding. So when someone comes at me with that same criticism, and I'm holding on to my truth and my love, I don't have to react, because my formidable power helps me remember this does not change my worth. It allows me to ask the question, what here is true? I can stay curious. I don't have to react. So, formidable power, we all have it available to us. It's a never-ending well of truth and love available to us all the time. And guess what? It's not a destination. It's not an ideal. It's a practice. It's a practice. And when we practice it more and more, we can shift the way power is held in the world. We inherited a broken model of power. It's fragile, it's asymmetric, and it's win-lose. And it's not working for anyone. but our inheritance is not our destiny. When we shift the power dynamic and recognize that our worth is secure and our worth is no longer on trial and we have nothing to prove, then we can face the seduction that comes when that energy of domination wants to bumble up, and it's like the little dark shadow that comes over your shoulder, and it's like tries to seduce you into that old dynamic of dominating. Your formidable power remembers, I am loved. I have nothing here to prove. And when the old strategy of disappearing and shrinking and hiding your voice comes back up to try and serve you well, you remember that your truth matters. And it might even shift the room. Your formidable power reminds you that you belong, and you belong to yourself first. And it also reminds you that we belong to each other. So, I would like to invite you to reimagine power with me. And let's reshape the way power is held in this world. Thank you.